Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another review. And no, not a Christmas one. I think I only got like one more that I want to do, but no, I'm going to slowly start getting back into the regular reviews. And I'm going to start with this one. I have a few marathons set up, but for right now, Son of Frankenstein. The third in the Universal Frankenstein films, and the third and final to feature Boris Karloff as the monster. Now, of course, I don't have it with its normal cover because I have it as part of this complete legacy collection, which has Frankenstein, Bride of, Son of, Ghost of, Meets Wolfman, House of, Frankenstein, House of Dracula, Abbott Costello. Because we did Christmas early at my girlfriend's parents' house, and this is actually part of the classic Monsters box set. I was so goddamn happy when I opened this. This is the one thing I wanted more than anything for Christmas. It's the DVD set. The box is a little banged up. I had to replace a couple of the cases, but I am just so happy to have this that I don't really care about the shape of the box. I will be excuse me, wow. I will be doing a Christmas haul video once everything's said and done. I just had to show this right now. Christmas has been saved as far as I'm concerned because this is my favorite era and favorite genre for horror. So that really made my season, my holiday. So I finally got to see Son of Frankenstein. And it came out in 1939. It is not directed by James Whale, unfortunately. The only common factor would be Boris Karloff. But even then, Karloff is severely downplayed in Son of. It was directed by Rowland Lee. It also stars Basil Rathbone. He's the Frankenstein character, the son of Henry Frankenstein. And we also got Lionel Atwill as Inspector Krogh, who... Because this is the first time I saw Son of Frankenstein. For the longest time, the original and Bride of were the only Universal ones I saw. So when I watch Young Frankenstein, I thought that the inspector with the artificial arm was sort of like just a quirky Dr. Strangelove type character. But nope, he's actually from this. So I guess Young Frankenstein covers all three original films. And of course you got Bela Lugosi as Ygor, the first iteration of Ygor. Because originally you had Dwight Frye, wonderful character actor, as Fritz. Even though he's not the Ygor that people would kind of come to know, he's not the hunchback with the big eyes, but he does kind of have like a neck and like a beard. It is a bittersweet film. I would say it is beautifully shot. You still get the set designs that, Universal was known for, especially James Whale. And this is actually considered the final of the A horror films as far as Universal monsters go. Because this was 1939. Once the 40s hit, they all became more so B movies, with the exception of Wolfman. I've always considered Wolfman to be a good, straightforward horror film. It's even got some great bonus features on here too. I'm still, discovering new stuff that's in this set. I'll show it again. I'm just so happy to have this. I don't care this DVDs instead of Blu-ray. I mean, yeah, it is unfortunate about the box, but to be honest, sorry. I'll stick with the movie. So, I mean, it is still very well shot. You do get the good performances, especially from Bela Lugosi. I mean, this is the most un-Bela Lugosi role I've seen him in thus far. You know, he masks his Hungarian accent very well, I thought. You know, he is kind of unrecognizable in makeup, so, and he was finally part of a film that, you know, he turned down 8 years before. He was supposed to play the monster because he played Dracula. But Karloff is barely in the film. I mean, they don't even attempt to revive him until, you know, about the 45-minute mark. And they kind of went backwards with his intelligence. I mean, yeah, he's been in a coma for some years, but he's been resorted to grunts and growls. He doesn't use words. And even his growls and screams sound a little different than from the original film. But I was just so happy to see Karloff as the monster again. As small of a role as it might have been, even for the title film. But you know, the story in this one is some years have gone by since the events of Bride. Henry Frankenstein is long since passed. His son, Wolf Frankenstein, has traveled to the village where, you know, the first two films took place to try and clear up his family's name. Because ever since Bride, you know, Frankenstein, they've been known as, you know, the monster maker, the guy that dug up bodies, but he was a baron, so he still lived out his life. And Wolf is accompanied by his wife Elsa, wonder where they got that name, and his son Peter. Quick thing about Peter is, I saw this in a Cinemassacre video. It was kind of a joke, but James Rolfe was kind of discussing it. The son Peter, he's got curly hair. He's about 3 or 4 years old. But the timeline of this, by the time we get to 1974, that could be Gene Wilder. I mean, not in real life, the character. You know, just the fact that in Young Frankenstein, it was his grandfather, and now we get to see his grandson. And, you know, 35 years later, it could have been. Obviously, I know they're not canonical with each other, but it is kind of a fun thought. So anyway, I mean, Wolf is played by Basil Rathbone, who was a genre name. You know, he was popular amongst the horror genre. On top of my head, well, I guess he was also known as swashbucklers and costume dramas, but I don't know why I can't remember on top of my head what else. Hound of the Baskervilles. I know there's so many of those. Some are horror, some are not. I guess it's not really important, but Basil, 1941 version of The Black Cat. The Mark of Zorro. It's the movie Bruce Wayne went to go see when his parents were killed. Anyway, okay. And just walking around his father's castle, that's where he meets Ygor, who's a man who dug up bodies, and then he was sentenced to hang, but he lived, but that's why his neck's all fucked up. And his friend is Frankenstein's monster, who's in a coma. He wears like this big, heavy, like vest, like fur vest. But Wolf decides to try to revive him. And also to show the townspeople that, you know, you can create life and you can, you know, not have them be monsters. And yeah, it's like the 45-minute mark by the time he even gets around to doing that. And even then, Karloff is just like... Karloff does not give a bad performance. I've never seen him give a bad performance. And he's still my favorite horror actor. Someone else, I'll say, you know, Robert De Niro has been my favorite actor for a number of years. But Karloff is slowly, well, not slowly, I mean, you know, creeping up, rapidly becoming my favorite actor. He does have some great moments, but when he finally awakes, he only listens to Ygor, and Ygor sends him on a killing spree, killing jurors in his trial. And, of course, the Lionel Atwill inspector with the fake arm, he says the monster ripped it out of him when he was a boy. You know, kind of warns him about being a Frankenstein and saying, like, I know when there's monsters been around. You do get this great scene because eventually Wolf does shoot Ygor. And the monster, you know, again, shows emotion. It's not quite to the level of the blind man sequence or a number of those sequences in Bride of Frankenstein. You know, he carries Ygor into this room and then he has a fit and he just trashes the lab. And he's like, row, row. But then he stops and he finds this little book of fairy tales. And he just kind of gets this little moment. But then he crushes it in his hand and he goes back to smashing shit. And I would say each Frankenstein film, they find these bigger ways to say, yeah, he's pretty much dead this time. Whether it be a burning windmill, an exploding castle. In this, he gets kicked into pretty much a pool of molten sulfur that's like underneath the castle. And obviously it is sad that this was Karloff's final run as the monster. I think he did like a Christmas special on TV, and then I think he voiced the monster in Mad Monster Party, which was a stop motion animation film by Rankin Bass, the guys that do the Christmas specials, which I haven't seen, but I want to because I'm a sucker for stop motion. And, you know, by the end of the movies, since, you know, the villagers kind of know what happened, and he turns the keys to the castle over to the villagers for them to do what they wish, they're cheering as the Frankensteins leave by train. And they're cheering their name. So he did accomplish what he wanted to. And, you know, it does suck that the monster was brought back from asleep only to be told to do something, have it not go well, to pretty much, you know, being killed again. Now, I haven't seen any other ones. This was actually the first one that I haven't seen in a long time. It was depressing knowing this was Karloff's last one. Of course, he did return for, I think it was House of Frankenstein or House of Dracula, but that time playing Frankenstein. But, and he chose not to come back as the monster because a fitting end, and 2, he felt the monster was becoming the butt of a lot of jokes, which really sucks because, you know, that it is my favorite monster of the bunch of that era. Karloff's my favorite version of that monster. And, you know, 1939, 1940 does really mark sort of the end of the serious monster movies, and then they got really silly. But at the same time, you know, it shows that the actual, like, real straightforward horror ones were played by Karloff. All the ones that are considered silly was, you know, there's one with Chaney, there's one with Lugosi, one with Glenn Strange. But, yeah. So, Son of Frankenstein, stay tuned. I will be doing Ghost of Frankenstein tonight. I still do need to finish that Boris Karloff collection. I actually got a number of collections for Christmas so far. My girlfriend and I still have to do our presents. Still got to do my parents'. Oh, who knows what else I got. But once it's all said and done, and I at least get the rest of that Karloff collection done, I will be doing a marathon of Universal Monsters. All 30 films. Well, technically 31, because it also comes with the 1931 Spanish Dracula. But anyway, that is Son of Frankenstein, 1939. Thank you for watching.